Alright, so the next step up in weight and size would be for day trips. This is when I basically am only carrying camera gear and maybe some snacks and water and stuff. So for those trips I can afford to carry a lot more weight and bulk. This is my day hiking pack. It's getting pretty well used by now, but it's held up pretty well. This is made by a company called Mindshift, and I think this is a 35-liter size. And this is kind of a specialty camera pack because of this side pouch here. So it has the main compartment up top, just like a normal backpack, but the side pouch is really nice because I can store my camera in here and it's easily accessible from the side without taking my backpack off. This is actually a removable kind of square pouch that's in here, and you can take this whole compartment out and use it as its own separate carrying case if you want, and then this would just turn into a normal backpack. I hardly ever do that though, I just leave this in here. And it also comes with some separate Velcro dividers, so you can kind of customize this space however you want. I've experimented with a few different things. I started out having like very separate compartments for each type of photography gear that I have, but I found the kind of like general philosophy with backpacking and hiking is that the simpler the better. So I just have two compartments now. One big one for the camera. It's way more space than the camera needs, but it's just easy to throw it in there. And then kind of a smaller, skinnier one, and that's where this green dry sack goes into. And that's where all my extra batteries and other equipment goes. Usually when I'm day hiking, I'm only shooting pictures or just kind of like stock nature photography. I don't film a lot of documentary work or video when I'm doing day hikes, so I don't have the microphone on my camera during day hikes. That makes it easy for the camera just to slide into here. But then I'll have the mic with me just in case I need to get some good audio. Then it has a side pouch here. I'm sure they designed it for water bottles and stuff, but I just throw my tripod in there. That also makes the tripod easy to access. I don't have to take the pack off when I need to get the tripod out. And then I'll throw my drone in there. This is the Mavic Air. And that's pretty much it. That's kind of like the basic starting kit for my day hike. And then depending on what I feel like doing and where I feel like going, I'll kind of add things on top of that. Maybe I'm going on like a time-lapse mission where I want to get a couple different time lapses. So in that case, I can add a camera. This smaller mirrorless camera is the Sony a6500. This is a crop sensor camera, so it's a little bit smaller sensor than my main camera now. It's not quite as good in low light. It's not quite as good for shooting star pictures and stuff like that, but for everything else it's basically the same. And because this is a crop sensor camera, that allows the body and the lens to be really small. This is a 18 to 200 millimeter lens on here, so kind of the same concept as my other camera. I like to have all-in-one lenses so that I only have to carry one lens for a big zoom range. This is my first mirrorless camera. I actually got this pretty much specifically for the Hayduke Trail. I needed a small compact camera that wouldn't weigh very much, and I filmed the entire Hayduke documentary on this a6500. It's pretty impressive to be able to film an entire documentary on a camera this small, and to shoot in 4K nonetheless. This camera has been a workhorse for me, and it has been through a lot. I've probably carried this over 1,000 miles, and it's been through the desert, it's been through the mountains, and it's never really given me any issues. It definitely has some flaws just because of its being so compact. They had to make some compromises. The screen is very dim. It's almost impossible to use the screen in bright daylight, but with the electronic viewfinder you can just use that instead. Battery capacity, these things are pretty tiny and they don't last very long, so you have to carry a lot of batteries. But you can charge these cameras with USB, so you don't need a separate battery charger. You can just plug a battery pack into the camera and it can run right off of that. So that's pretty nice. So I can throw this in here if I want to get a couple different time lapses, maybe shoot a couple at the same time. That's kind of nice to have. Then if I'm really getting crazy, I have a couple other camera bodies that I can use. This camera is my first DSLR ever. I've had this since like 2010 probably. This is a Canon T3i. It's actually a pretty amazing camera. It still holds up today. The video quality not so much, but the stills quality is still just fine. And this has always been my backup camera when other cameras break or whatever, but I don't use it very much anymore. The camera that I got after the T3i is the Canon 6D, so that was a step up from a crop sensor camera to a full frame sensor camera. This is another DSLR. This is getting kind of old too. I think I got this in 2015. But this, as far as still image quality, still holds up today. It still shoots amazing still quality images. Video not so much either. It only shoots in 1080, and I don't actually like the video quality that comes out of this very much, but I don't use this for video anymore anyway. This is kind of just a time-lapse camera and stills camera. If I'm going on a time-lapse mission, then I'll probably bring my slider too. This is another new addition to the kit. This is a GVM, which stands for Great Video Maker Motorized Time-Lapse Slider. There's a bunch of different motorized time-lapse sliders out on the market, and most of them are super expensive, like well over $1,000. They're really nice, but they're kind of overkill, I think, for what I need. This one is about $300, and it has like 80% of the features as all of those $1,000 sliders. It's actually really well designed, I feel like. Pretty lightweight, but also very strong. These are carbon fiber rails. The motor is well designed, it's very compact, and it all feels like it's a good solid package. So I can I have some straps, I can just strap this to the outside of my pack. It's kind of a weird, bulky thing to carry, but if I'm not going very far, it's not that bad. And then this goes with the slider. This is just another old bag that I had that came with something else, but I keep the controller in there. So this controller connects to the slider with this cable, and then there's another cable that goes from the controller to the camera, and that's what triggers the camera as it slides along the rails. And then I just have 3 other batteries in this bag too. These are pretty big batteries and they last a while, so 3 batteries is more than enough. That'll probably last me for like a week. So like I said, I could get like specialized carrying cases for the controller, separate cases for the battery, separate cases for the cords and everything. And I think a professional photographer who's not working in the woods would do that, and that would be a good idea, because that's how you keep your equipment like most protected and most secured and everything. But for me, since I need things to be kind of small and consolidated all in one place, it's much more convenient just to put them in a small bag like this. Okay, so lenses. I actually don't have a whole bunch of different lenses. If I was kind of a dedicated landscape nature photographer, then I would probably have a ton of lenses. But since I do the long distance hiking and I need to kind of keep my weight and my bulk down, that's why I go with the all-in-one lenses. So that way I can have one lens instead of like 3 or 4 different prime lenses or something like that. But usually I'll have the all-in-one big zoom range lens and then a kind of a fisheye or a wide angle lens on top of that for each camera. This is my newest lens. This is a 28mm lens, and it opens up to f1.8. Mostly what I use this for is for star pictures and star time lapses and stuff like that. And this is for my A7 III. So this is a full frame lens. It's pretty heavy. It's not something that I would carry on a super long distance backpacking trip, but for like a couple nights or for day trips and stuff like that, it's worth it. I could have gone with a wider angle lens, but I like this one because it doesn't give that kind of fisheye distortion where everything's like stretched and bulged on the end. This still feels like kind of a straight square frame. And this is a straight up fisheye lens. This is a Rokinon 8mm fisheye. I originally got this for the Canon T3i. So this is a Canon mount. But when I got my Sony a6500, it came with a Canon to Sony adapter. So that's kind of nice. I can use this fisheye lens, which is made for a crop sensor. I can use it on my T3i or my Sony a6500. And this is also pretty good for shooting star pictures and astrophotography and stuff like that. It only opens up to 3.8, so that's not super fast. There are much more expensive lenses that you can get that are much faster than this, but this is a pretty relatively cheap lens, and for what it is, I'm pretty happy with the quality of it. Then I also have a Rokinon 15mm fisheye lens for my full frame Canon 6D. I don't use this very much anymore just because I don't use the 6D very much anymore. And one of my many camera accidents, I managed to drop this on a railroad track a while ago, so it's got some chips in the glass. But they're not too noticeable unless you're shooting into direct sunlight. And then all of these lenses are kind of old, I don't really use them anymore. This one is a macro lens. It's pretty fun to play with. It's a 60mm macro, so you can get super close-up shots. Sometimes I'll take this out. I can use this on my Canon T3i or my Sony a6500 with the adapter, because it's made for a crop sensor. A very old and cheap 75 to 300mm lens. Got this for the Canon 6D. I don't really ever use this anymore. This is my all-in-one lens that I had for the Canon 6D. So this is for full frame. This is a Tamron 28 to 300mm lens. It's a decent all-in-one zoom lens. Definitely not the highest quality. And then this one's kind of fun. This is like a pancake 40mm lens. It opens up to f1.2, and it's made by Canon. So you can get super shallow depth of field with this lens. It's really good for shooting interviews, kind of like artsy product shots and stuff like that, where you want a really shallow depth of field. And then this beast is the newest addition to the lens lineup. Just got this recently. And this is a super telephoto zoom. It's a Sigma 150 to 600mm contemporary lens. Since I moved out to Montana and I live right next to Yellowstone, I've been doing a lot of wildlife photography there, and it's kind of crucial to have a really good zoom lens for that. So that's why I got this lens. I've only used it one day so far, but it is a lot of fun. Really looking forward to using this some more. And that's pretty much it for the gear that I will carry on day hiking trips. My photography kit is always changing, and I'm always upgrading or replacing gear. So let me know if there's anything that you would carry instead of something else that I mentioned here.